Hi, this is Tisch Aitken, and it is Thursday, January 16th, 2025. This is the new year. It is January of 2025, and it has been a jolting start. I was in Los Angeles. I arrived on Sunday the 5th, and the fires erupted on Monday, January 6th. And unfortunately, this is catastrophic and it's still continuing. And it's just out of control and something just, I'm a native New Yorker. I was born and raised, and I was living in Manhattan when September 11th occurred. And in a different way, the energy of the city of Los Angeles felt very much the same. The shock, the fear, the anger, displacement, just the tension, and just also knowing that there's so much more that people don't even know what they'll be experiencing. There's so many variables, and that feeling of uncertainty. And I saw how people came together to help each other. I wasn't right. I was in West Hollywood. I wasn't right in the immediate part of it. But I'm not far from wasn't far from the Hollywood Hills. But anything could have happened given the winds, given various people doing things like committing arson, and just the energy just when you have crisis, right? My gosh, we had a few things that I think are relevant, and I'm going to talk more tomorrow because I'm just, getting over jet lag and over my shock, and I just feel so saddened for Los Angeles, which I consider my second home, and I love so much, and I have so many great friends and clients there, and just it was devastating, to see how they're feeling and what they're going through, and all the people they know that have lost homes, and just all their history and this beautiful Art Deco history, so many structures, and just so many people in pain. So we have to look at a few things going on, and I'm going to do another video because hopefully I'll be more cohesive tomorrow. That's my plan. So with that, we had a Mars-Pluto opposition occur on January 3rd. Now, Mars at this time was in the fixed fire sign of Leo, and Pluto is now in the fixed air sign of Aquarius, where it'll be through March 8th of 2043. And with that said, the two already opposed one another in November, on November 3rd, at that time at the last degrees of Cancer and Capricorn. And Mars retrograded on December 6th at 6 degrees and 11 minutes of the fixed fire sign of Leo, fixed fire, pretty tenacious, and it will be retrograde through February 23rd. It returned to the sign of Cancer on January 6th, which would have been the day the fires actually erupted, and it will remain in Cancer through February 20, pardon me, through April 18th. It's retrograde through the 23rd, and then it returns to the sign of Leo on April 18th. And it will remain in Leo through the middle of June, but it won't clear its shadow until May 2nd, meaning when it does go direct, it'll be at 17 degrees of Cancer, which it entered on October 2nd. So we're dealing with themes around Mars since the beginning of October. And so the thing also is that there's going to be a third Mars-Pluto opposition at 3 degrees and 48 minutes of Mars in Leo at 3 degrees and 48 minutes fixed fire, and Pluto in Aquarius, 3 degrees and 48 minutes of fixed air. There are two charts for Los Angeles, and the first being when it originally was discovered in, and I'm going to do more on this because, again, I want to do more research and I'm scattered, but I've always thought of LA as a Virgo city, and the first chart is September 4th of 1781. And in that chart, the sun is at 12 degrees of Virgo. There is the north node of karma is at 27 degrees of Aries. So It is, in a fire sign. And Pluto would have been setting that off, maybe 28 degrees. Again, I have to look. I don't have the chart in front of me. And, you have Mercury, which is communication and rules the sign of Virgo, at Regulus, the royal fixed star known as Regulus, the kingmaker and the queen maker, something that can really make you rise and to fame and rise in position. And so I think of that as a Leo, as a LA type of thing, and also Virgo, because there's such great health food and people take very good care of themselves there. They're very health conscious. Good food, good nutrition. The best health food I've ever had has always been in Los Angeles. But there's another chart when LA officially became a city in the United States, which was April 4th of 1850. And that has a stellium, several points in Aries. And that also makes a lot of sense because the North Node of Karma is in Leo, so therefore you have that Leo theme of the performer, actors. But you have, I have the time with that one. You've got the midheaven, the angle of career and public reputation in Pisces. Pisces rules film and music and imagination, and definitely, that's the place of film. And it has a stellium in Aries. Well, again, I can see the Virgo energy, but you don't think of LA as a humble town, and Virgo is quite humble. So you could see the stellium. I think both charts have relevance, definitely. But there is a tremendous stellium, meaning a lot of points in Aries. You have Venus, the planet of beauty, and one of the benefics, glamour, love, value, creativity at the world point at 22 degrees of the cardinal fire sign of Aries. And it's conjunct the sun, and it is a town of glamour. Well, a few things come to mind. Mars is retrograde. It's also out of bounds now, and it's going to be out of bounds through early April. And so this means it does not play by the rules and can be out of control. People can be acting very out of control. This is concerning with the fire and with also how people manage this, because Mars returned to Cancer on January 6th, and it is in its fall position. It doesn't like being in Cancer. And, people are very emotionally reactive, and understandably, this is a tremendously sad time. So people coming together, they're also mourning their homes, their family. This isn't houses. These are homes. This is not just businesses or restaurants or stores. These are families. And so the history, the beautiful, amazing history, so much has been lost. And that part, but then with the original chart I referenced on September 4th of 1781, Pluto is at 4 degrees of Aquarius. That also makes sense. That's a city and an area very associated with earthquakes. Aquarius is a sign of genius, ingenuity, chaos, and it can represent earthquakes metaphorically and literally. And LA definitely is known for its earthquakes, such beautiful natural beauty, but also a lot of natural disasters. And so with that said, it's about to have its Pluto return next year when Pluto reaches 4 degrees of Aquarius. And the other thing with that chart, Saturn stationed direct on November 15th of last year at 12 degrees of Pisces, automatically opposing the sun of, Virgo sun of LA. It opposed the sun. That can be a big challenge or a turning point and a difficulty. We just experienced the Pluto return of the United States in approximately 22, 23, I guess around that time, when it got to 27 degrees of Capricorn. The United States began with Pluto. Remember, we're a young country, so Pluto takes 248 years to orbit. So that's when it got to where it was when the United States was established and when the Constitution was created and signed. And so now we're seeing this, and the third opposition of Mars and Pluto that occurs on April 26th is going to be at 3 degrees, and 48 minutes of Leo and Aquarius, so very close to the Pluto return. It's getting very close to that. And there has been a lot of loss, just as I saw in a different way in September 11th. And it's unusual that I was in both places. And I mean, not unusual, I was in Manhattan, but unusual that I was in LA. I knew it was going to be a big, big time. And I will admit, I want to bring hope, and I don't want to be Pollyannic with all of you about what's occurring, astrologically, but I don't want to be doom and gloom about things. I have said repeatedly in my videos that Mars opposite Pluto can be war, and it can be combative energy. And I was concerned before I was going. I thought to myself, will there be something at the very end of the year? Will there be an attack? Will there be an attack right after New Year's, whether it's a domestic attack or an international attack, because that is an aspect of combat. What's going to happen? Will there be something very turbulent and unpredictable? Pluto in Aquarius, Mars in Leo, because at that time Mars was still in Leo when they opposed one another. And in this case, it was a natural attack, and it is like a war scene. It really is. It's just horrific. And but remember that in this really awful and sad time, that Pluto is rebirth. And I don't want in any way say that, again, I don't want to be Pollyannic. This is something that some people, many people will be scarred for the rest of their lives. They will never forget this. But this is where, okay, the North Node of Karma in the midst of this just entered the sign of Pisces on January 11th. And it transits, the nodes of fate transits in two signs, are always in opposing signs, because you have the North Node of Karma, which is where you're meant to go. That's known as the dragon's head. And you have the South Node of Karma, what you're meant to release. You gravitate toward and vacillate towards both, but the South Node, what you're meant to release, is in the sign of Virgo, and that's from January 11th of this year through July 27th of 2026. That occurs for a year and a half, and automatically the North Node was, when this also occurred, was right at the world point. It was at 0 degrees of Aries. At the world point, big things happen that can have very eventful things. It can be a global event. This is certainly something that's going to impact many, many people. That's a huge state, but has a huge influence on so many. It's one of the biggest, it's huge. And so with, really big. And the thing also, if we're going to look at the chart of 1850, the second chart I referenced, and I'll talk more tomorrow about that. We had the Sun and Venus are conjunct in Aries. The midpoint is, I believe, it's 18 or 17 degrees of Aries. Well, remember the biggest solar eclipse of last year was on April 8th. And it was 18 degrees of the cardinal fire sign of Aries. It was a total solar eclipse with the North Node very close, right? Because that's, to have the North Node, to have a total solar eclipse, the nodes of the moon have to be within 9 degrees. And it was really close, very potent in the United States. And it also was the midpoint of the Venus-Sun conjunction of the Los Angeles chart. For when it was officially established as a municipality. And with that said, too, Chiron, the wounded healer, is now transiting. It's stationed direct on December 29th, and it is now transiting at that same degree that the eclipse occurred on April 8th of last year. And so there's a lot of healing. There's a lot of pain. But I want to remind you that this is devastating, okay? But Aquarius is community. And one thing I always notice when I go to Los Angeles, even when I go, I was telling some people, some clients that I know, New York has a lot going on where I'm from, and it's obviously so much nightlife and just things to do, whether you're going out or in a park or whatever. But I noticed just culturally, people tend to go out more with groups of friends. When I go to Los Angeles, when I meet friends and clients, they tend to do that more regularly. You know, they make, even though they drive everywhere, maybe it's more weather based. I don't know, but it just seems to be something I've noticed when I go out there. There's a very social factor to it, even though it can be very alienating that they do so much driving. And why was I saying this? I forgot. Oh, community. Aquarius represents friends and groups and community. And the communal efforts that I witnessed while I was there and I heard about and then I've seen on social media since this have been tremendous, have been incredible. And people are really rallying to help the place they love. And that's a big deal. And now the North Node of Karma is setting off where Neptune was transiting from May 4th through September 4th of last year. And that's at the very final degree of Pisces. And that is a fixed star known as Shiat. It is connected with the chart of the Titanic. And that is where people were literally shipwrecked, and we know what happened, but it can be a feeling metaphorically of being abandoned and shipwrecked and lost at sea. And it can be connected with self-undoing and depression and suicide. And I want to say this because Neptune was already there last year. And I did hear 3 stories, very upsetting stories, between the end of May and the end of June, really right when it first started. 3 incidents, and they didn't end well. And you know, this is, I know 2 people, and I've said this in many of my videos, and I will continue, that have their sun at Shiat, and they are the beautiful expression. This is not only a fixed star, it is the final degree of the zodiac. They are empaths, they help people, they are artists, they are incredibly creative, and again, they have all the inherent wisdom of all the preceding signs that, you know, they symbolize that. And, wisdom is not only, there's that, it's the soul-based compassion that they embody. And right now, the beginning part of this Aquarius journey is very associated with Pisces. And right now, we have Venus in Pisces. Venus is exalted. It is love and beauty. We have Neptune, although it is going to transit in Aries for several months this year. And we have Saturn in Pisces right now. And they will be in Pisces on and off through February of next year. And so, we have to realize that is can feel, again, feeling very lost at sea, can be very much about depression. Neptune was already there. The North Node of Karma will meet up with Neptune on February 7th at 28 degrees of Pisces. And hopefully that brings assistance and help. But again, this is something where for a lot of us, there are victims. Pisces represents victims. It also represents homelessness. There are so many people without homes right now that are displaced. And many right now, there's still a sense of uncertainty, much uncertainty, and things can be very erratic, that Aquarian energy. And yet, thank God for technology with this, with all the Aquarian themes, technology is soaring. Social media is going to be changing, and there'll be so many new platforms and new ways of doing things. And already we're seeing right now TikTok, the fate of TikTok is being decided this week. Hopefully, well, I don't know what's going to happen, but on the 19th, they may delay it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's going on, and just seeing the technology involved in trying to heal Los Angeles right now, and the attempts on social media. And we have to be wary of scams with Neptune and the North Node at the last degrees of Pisces. There was a lunar eclipse last September on the 17th of September that was at 25 degrees and 41 minutes of the mutable water sign of Pisces. That's also very close to where Neptune is right now. Neptune's at 27 degrees of Pisces. It's close to where the North Node will be, or is right now. And we're going to have another eclipse that picks up from that story, and that's going to occur on March 14th of this year at 23 degrees and 56 minutes of the mutable earth sign of Virgo. And that is, picking up where we left off. A lot around healing people, a lot of focus on depression, on mental illness. There will be people that won't want to get through this, that will relapse, that will just alienate again, that will already, people have not healed as a society from what happened 5 years ago. That unforgettable pairing of Saturn and Pluto at 22 degrees of the cardinal earth sign of Capricorn, the world point. Well, interestingly enough, that also sets off Venus in the second Los Angeles chart I referenced, that they have Venus at 22 degrees of Libra in that chart. And now 5 years later, almost, 6 days before Saturn and Pluto met up in 2020, we had this horrific event. I think Mars opposing Pluto, Mars out of bounds. I think Jupiter squaring Saturn at the end of December on Christmas Eve, on December 24th. They squared one another in the sky, and that is, Jupiter is in its detriment and in Gemini, and that's showcasing, for me in this past year, it was showcasing how small businesses are struggling. But now also, this is an environment. Gemini is your environment, your local community, your local neighborhoods, your mom and pop stores, the places you frequent, where you meet your friends, where you take your kids to school, where you drop off your dry cleaning, whatever. And now we have a whole community where neighborhoods have been erased, and it's horrific. It really is terrible. And this is where hopefully many of us put aside anger, Mars out of bounds, Mars opposite Pluto, which is a very contentious and angry energy. And again, they will clash one more time on April 26th. It's a big deal. And we have Mars energy right now. Mars opposed the sun yesterday. Mars in Cancer opposed the sun in Capricorn. And this is, this was the day that supposedly there's ceasefire with Israel and Gaza, but we'll see. And, how that turns out. And that is an aspect of combat or combative energy, particularly with Mars out of bounds, which it'll be for a while. It hopefully, this is a time of re-examining what you can do, but very heavy energy. Jupiter squaring Saturn in Pisces. Jupiter in Gemini has so many scattered options. And then Saturn in Pisces is trying to anchor, but it's so all over the place. The ocean is uncontainable, and there's so much Pisces. We've got Neptune conjunct the north node of Karma. We've got Venus in Pisces. We've got the eclipses now in Pisces, Virgo axis. And we have Mars out of bounds in Cancer, which is also more water in the sky. I know there are the fires going on, but there's so much sensitivity and heavy emotions. And I keep praying for rain. I think many of us do. And when I was in Los Angeles, my oldest friend out there that I got to see twice, luckily, I spent the first day I saw her when we both got a erroneous notification that we had to evacuate. Luckily, we did not, but in our cases, but we were able, my friend said, because I was alone on my trip, my friend said, get to her and another person. They said, you'll be much better knowing you, and at least you'll be with other people if something happens. So I ran. She was freaking out too, and our friend Robert centered us, thankfully, but he talked sense into us. But the idea is that I don't know what the idea is. It was very frightening and very jarring. And I know. She put on James Taylor, and we were listening, and then that song Fire and Rain came on, and boy, it was fitting because it's also about loss. In this case, it's a loss of a love. Well, a lot of people, they're in love with LA. I'm in love with LA, and you know, their city they love is now in devastation. But it doesn't mean, you know, it is very resilient. It has endured, you know, big, you know, natural disasters in the past. This is the worst ever, but it is having it's going to have its Pluto return at the end of April. That is setting that off, and realistically, Mars does not clear its shadow until May 2nd, when it gets to 6 degrees of Leo, where it retrograded on December 6th. So this is just, you know, we have to work with that energy. We have the sun forming a sextile to Neptune on, oh gosh, the 17th. That's nice energy. Okay. That helps you to maybe work with your dreams more, maybe rest a little bit. A lot of people have been having so much anxiety with, you know, everything that's occurring. Obviously, there's an upcoming inauguration. There's a lot happening. And there are a lot of combative things happening in the world. And Mars out of bounds in Cancer. So many emotions, so many people talking about their inner child, or in the case of a place like Los Angeles, so many people mourning their old memories. Of course, they'll have their memories, but they don't have evidence anymore. They don't have, you know, I mean, my God, you know, I can't even imagine. And in such enormity, so many people. And let's see, you know, we're going to have Venus meet up with Saturn, on the 19th, I think the 19th and the 20th. And, you know, Venus Saturn is about examining what's working and what's not. It's also, you know, it's, you know, Venus loves being in Pisces. It's exalted there. It's so loving. It's unconditional love. It's creative. It's beautiful. It's just so magical, I feel. Saturn's tempering it, but it's also saying, how do you work with that magic? Just like Saturn in Pisces. You know, we have it here on and off through February of next year. How do you work with the magic? Even though you're scared, even though it is hard to contain, even though now another crazy thing has happened. But with people teaming up together with Pluto and Aquarius, with all the technological advancement, there are things that are very frightening about things going on with technology, obviously. But there are things that could be very good, communal efforts. Many of us should be focusing on that. I think with the situations we're experiencing already in the very beginning of this year. And, you know, I'm basing, you know, in the United States, there are many things, you know, tragedies all over, obviously. This is a very, very difficult time. And that goes for everywhere, obviously, the North Node at Shiat and at the last degree of Pisces, where people could feel very lost at sea. This, you know, the North Node meeting up with Neptune on February 7th. Tapping into how you can connect to the dream. We co-create with this. Yes, there is much sadness and loss and chaos. There's a lot of creativity. We're going to have Venus on and off in Pisces through April 30th. We have Neptune in Pisces through February of next year. We have the North Node in Pisces through July 27th of the next year. This is where we can really make art. We can make a difference in our actions to help others. We can create music. We can write. We can love. We can dance. We can find joy in a broken world like many prior generations have. We have to be strong. We have to innovate change with Pluto and Aquarius. And the sun will enter Aquarius on January 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fixed air, we're in the new age of Aquarius, and the sun will meet up with Pluto on January 21st at 4:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at 1 degree and 41 minutes of the fixed air sign of Aquarius. And every time a planet enters Aquarius, early degrees, it's going to meet up with Pluto, just like we'd had planets with Capricorn meet up with Pluto. Now we've got the Aquarian theme. Also very intense in a different way. This is fixed, rapid change. It happens, you know, overnight. It's a great awakener. This can, right now there's a lot of chaos, but we could find innovation and we could find new ways to do things, in a flash, flashes of brilliance, out of the blue windfalls and opportunities. There are good things with this. Connecting to your imagination to manifest and co-create love and magic together. This is much longer than I intended. I think when I'm tired, I don't go on more, but I want to make a difference. There's a lot that I plan on doing, to help Los Angeles, because that's something I'm focused on right now, because that's somewhere that I have a lot of friends and clients and a place that's embraced me. And so I wish you all so much luck. I will be on tomorrow to talk more about the astrology. This is a big year, and I'm offering an astrology reading special, $70 for an hour reading. There's a lot to discuss this year. How do you work with that? 3 outer planets changing signs. North Node now in Pisces. The eclipse is now in the Pisces Virgo axis. And, a lot to discuss. And then 30 minutes for $40. So let's talk, connect, and hang in there. Thank you.